All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to be rethinking what a classroom can be. We'll be looking at a really modern approach that's all about turning learning into meaningful action, using the Flying Wings International School as our guide to see how they're pulling it off.
So, to really get what's new here, we first have to look back at what it's trying to fix. That traditional kind of passive classroom that probably sounds pretty familiar to most of us.
Yeah, just picture it for a second. You're sitting at your desk, the teacher's up at the front of the room just talking, and you're just trying to listen, take notes, and cram all these dates and formulas in your head for the next big test. That's the exact model that this new way of thinking wants to completely transform.
And wow, the difference is night and day. We're talking about a huge shift away from those old teacher-led lectures toward action that is centered on the student. It's about replacing that endless memorization with hands-on, practical application. It completely flips passive listening into active, energetic investigation. So, what's the big idea driving all this change? Well, it really all comes down to one single concept: putting the student, not just a rigid curriculum, right at the very heart of the entire educational experience.
And here's the most important part. Education shouldn't just be about soaking up information like a sponge. The real goal here is to empower students to actually do something with what they learn, to apply it, to use it, and to turn that knowledge into real, meaningful action in the world.
This whole philosophy really stands on four key pillars. First, learning has to be active, getting students involved, not just watching. It has to be student-centered, focusing on their individual needs. It's got to be flexible, so it can adapt to different learning styles. And finally, it's technology-supported, using all the tools we have now to make learning more powerful and engaging.
Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this actually look like in a real classroom? Let's break down the specific methods and tools that actually bring this whole idea to life. First up, we've got the flipped classroom. It's pretty much what it sounds like. You flip the traditional model on its head. Instead of the lecture happening in class, students watch videos or review materials at home. This frees up all that valuable class time for what really matters: working together on problems, having great discussions, and getting direct help from the teacher.
Then there's project-based learning, or PBL. This is where learning gets really fun and really real. So instead of just reading about science in a textbook, students might team up to design a community garden. They're tackling these big, long-term projects that challenge them to use what they've learned to solve actual, real-world problems.
And what drives all this? Curiosity. That's where inquiry-based learning comes in. The idea is, instead of just handing students the answers, you encourage them to ask their own questions, to investigate things that genuinely interest them, and to discover knowledge for themselves. This builds a much deeper understanding, not just something they'll forget after the test.
Which, of course, leads right into learning by doing. This is kinesthetic learning. It's all about getting students to move, to build things, to experiment, and to practice. It's about developing those crucial hands-on skills through direct experience. Now, of course, technology is kind of the secret sauce here. Using digital tools and online platforms makes the whole environment so much more flexible. It lets students learn at their own pace and engage with the material in whatever way works best for them. And all of these pieces tie perfectly into personalized learning, because let's face it, one size does not fit all. Here, the pace, the content, even the feedback a student gets is all tailored to their specific needs and their progress. This makes sure that every single student gets the support they need to really succeed.
And finally, this is huge. The focus isn't just on grades and test scores. The approach is holistic. It's about developing the whole person. That means intentionally teaching essential life skills, things like leadership, communication, and digital literacy, right alongside math and history. So when you connect all these dots, you can actually see a clear journey for the student. It all starts with curiosity. That's the inquiry and exploration. Then it moves into hands-on practice and creation through projects. And it all leads to real mastery and growth in a personalized, supportive space. You see how each method just builds on the next?
So what's the point of all this? What does it all add up to? Well, it's about building something way more valuable and lasting than just memorized facts.
The real endgame here is the complete, holistic development of every single student. This is about preparing them not just for their next exam, but, for life.
And that development comes in the form of real practical skills that are absolutely essential for today's world. We're talking about critical thinking, great communication, leadership, being digitally savvy, and even having an awareness of mental health and personal growth. These are the tools you actually need to navigate a complex world.
There's this one quote that just sums it all up perfectly. The goal is for students to not only gain knowledge, but also develop the mindset and practical abilities needed to succeed in life. I mean, that really says it all about what education should be.
So that leaves us with a big question, right? When you shift the focus from just passively consuming information to actively creating and applying it, from just memorizing things to solving real-world problems, could this be the future of learning? It's a pretty compelling vision. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.